Scent of Love. A Billionaire, Enemies to Lovers, Sweet Romance Set in Lisbon. By Marina Pacheco. Chapter 1. Diana waited at the entrance to the shopping mall as a burly security guard took her temperature with a handheld scanner. He gave a satisfied nod and then showed her the reading, 37.1 safe, but an odd thing for him to do. Then he stood aside to allow her in, waving a hand at the sanitizer. She scanned the mall as she massaged the alcohol into her hands. There was a hotel on her right with a modern mirror-bright chrome-edged double door. A deep blue carpet led to a seating area populated by clusters of chairs and occupied by only a couple of guests. Slightly further into the mall to her left was the Anchor Shop, a large department store that had given pride of place to the beauty counters, filled with rainbow displays of lipsticks and eyeshadow, and row upon row of boring mass-produced perfume. It made her glad she had to wear a mask and could barely smell their cloying fragrances. Her duty done, Diana walked briskly towards the escalators. Her every sense was heightened, topmost was anxiety. This was her first trip away from home since the lockdown had eased. Although there were only a few people in the mall, all wearing masks, it still felt risky. Fear number 2 was about seeing Fernando. She was surprised that he'd suggested they meet here. After 6 months of quarantining apart, she'd expected to either go to his place in Lisbon or for him to come to hers in Sintra. She didn't really care, just as long as she got to see him. They'd argued more often as the months passed on their regular Zoom calls, and she needed to speak to him in person so that they could properly clear the air and get back to the way they'd been before. Diana glanced at a highly reflective shop window as she strode past. She hadn't dressed this smartly in months. It felt strange and a bit uncomfortable. What she saw was reassuring. Her wrap skirt curved upwards to reveal a couple of layers of pretty frills below that looked feminine but not too princessy. Her legs that had hooked more than one boyfriend were tanned and satin smooth, and her peep-toe sandals were adorable, not that she'd expect Fernando to notice that. She reached up to her freshly styled and colored hair. She loved the asymmetrical cut that left her with flowing wavy locks on the right that graded to a pixie look on the left. It was quirky, especially with the addition of a couple of wedges of purple and blue. It was something that only somebody who worked for themselves could get away with. Thought about work made her stomach tighten with fright again. She was running dangerously short of money, to the point where she debated the wisdom of the cost of a haircut. But no, she couldn't appear before Fernando looking frumpy. She breathed in to fortify herself as she stepped onto the escalator and inhaled the scent of her lipstick and face cream, and a slight aroma of mint from her toothpaste. That was the thing about masks, you got way too much of yourself. She hoped the mask wouldn't mess up her lipstick. It was the first time she was wearing both, and she had grave misgivings about it. Diana would have preferred an outdoors location, and wondered again why Fernando had chosen this spot as the escalator delivered her to the top floor. Diana looked around the restaurant, searching for Fernando, who'd spotted her arrival and stood up, waving to her from a table beside the floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a spectacular view of the city. Unusually for Lisbon, it was an overcast day, and even the city lacked its usual sparkle. There he is, Diana thought, and wondered yet again why she felt so anxious. True, they'd been apart for longer than they'd ever